Just waiting to see if it comes up on my stream over there.
Let's hope
Hello,
Zoom-
there we go. Looks like we're live. All right,
Let's
hello
hope I don't
everyone.
crash.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll make up for that. Yeah, so welcome to the Convention Survival Guide panel. It's my first time, so do forgive me if I get everything wrong. But I've also got Sky Spectre here, who's going to be doing a section on accessibility and is my sort of general con buddy I go everywhere with.
Yes, I am.
And Stormblaze, who you'll have just seen if you were on the panel, who is an amazing artist, so go buy her stuff. And
Yep,
who's going to do some, and doing a section on the vendors. Essentially, yeah, between the lot of us, I think we sort of totaled up at least 50 different cons we've all been to. So we figured, you know, we've probably got the qualifications for this. What we're going to cover, we're looking at sort of everything from the planning section. This is kind of more of a, you know, your basic hints and tips, because I could go on about this forever, because there's so much you pick up when you're going through all these cons. But yeah, going from the planning to all the way through to kind of after the con, do's and don'ts and all that sort of stuff. I've left the main thing I've left out of this is travel advice, because general travel is like, it's not convention specific, and so it's the only thing I could really cut down the time with. But don't forget about it. You've always got to make sure you do a lot of research when you're traveling, and get some tips off people who travel all the time, because there's things you learn that make it more pleasant. Yeah, and I'm also doing a very cheesy thing of stealing Hasbro's tagline of "Friendship is Magic," because friends make cons so much better.
Absolutely.
It does.
Woo.
Even stuck on a table, it really helps.
Definitely. So yeah, you've got your convention. You know, once you've found a convention you want to go to, first thing, you've got to plan as early as possible, because that way you get much better prices. Everything's available. You know, gives you some peace of mind, and time to save up for the con as well, which is pretty important. It doesn't necessarily mean as soon as humanly possible, because some things might not be available. So set yourself reminders on your calendar, something like that, to remind you to book things like train tickets, because they're like in the UK, train tickets go out 12 weeks before travel, so that's usually the cheapest time to buy them. Make sure that you double check everything though, because that's really important. You need to know what you're booking. You need to know the difference between a double and a twin room, unless you're really, really comfortable sleeping with whoever you're going to the con with. But yeah, make sure you know what it is you're booking before you pay for it. And if you can get free cancellation options, they're always best, in case something happens, like, I don't know, a global pandemic, but that would never happen. You've also got your timings. One of the things that I learned early on with conventions is you've got to make sure you take a day before and a day after the con, if at all possible. It is possible to travel up on the day, but it will make it so much more manic. And book your time off work as soon as you can, because employers always, you know, they're much more willing to like shift a booking of holiday from one week to another. Much more than they are to just last minute go, oh yeah, sure, you can have next weekend off. But while you're there, even if it is just a UK con and it's a different city, it's worth thinking, if you want to go sightseeing, if there's anything interesting nearby, because you've already got the hotel, you've already got the travel paid for. You know, it's essentially making the most of your money. But I would always advise sightseeing is best first, and then finish with the con, because it's a really nice way to kind of end your trip.
Especially at UK PonyCon when you're a Warhammer fan.
Not that I have been going to Warhammer World every single time we go up there now. I like it in Nottingham.
Nottingham is nice.
It's actually, yeah, it's a very nice place, but also nice for Warhammer, because that's their HQ. Like I say, the travel stuff, I'm not going to go into in a lot of detail in this panel. Just make sure it's really important. And, you know, look into it, do your research, compare various things, all this stuff. You know, shop around. Transfers are one thing, though, that is often easy to forget. So how you're getting from home to the station, to the airport, whatever, how you're getting from there to the hotel at the other end, and how you're getting from the hotel to the convention. Even if you're in the car, you might need to look into transfers from hotel to the convention. So at least plan them, even if you're not able to book them. Accommodation, again, it's kind of part of the general travel advice. So shop around, Google, find some hints and tips on how to do it, because it will make your life a lot more pleasant if you know how to get good accommodation. Hotels are a good place to go and form a nest, but they're more expensive, so you need more people. Hostels are cheap, but not very secure. Things to think about. Get your tickets as soon as possible, because that's also a good way if you're booking as a group to sort of determine who is definitely committed to coming, is have they bought the tickets. But it also allows the convention to pay for more cool stuff if the sooner they have the money, because if they only get it the day before, they can't pay for anybody interesting to come along. And yeah, friendship is magic, the first cheesy tie-in, which is showing up below the videos. But yeah, if you can book as a group, if you've got someone who's good at traveling, who has the experience, then that's always helpful, because I'm quite good at that. But if anybody, whoever's doing all the work generally gets the nicer bed as well. But it means that you get cheaper hotel rooms, you have more fun, you spread the responsibility, and more people to look for things that might go wrong. I shall scroll down my notes to the next page. So yeah, on the day before you go to the con, so traveling there, getting there, what to do, make sure you pack properly. Good shoes are essential, because you don't want to have tired feet when you're walking around a con. Plan your clothes for the weather inside and outside, and make sure you've always got at least one spare set for in case anything rips or goes, or you get rained on, things like that. Yeah, Google travel tips and tricks is the best I can give for travel advice without going way over on the panel. But don't forget it. Plan as much as you can. But saying that, no plans, survives contact with the enemy, you will have things that are going wrong. So the easiest way to get around that is to make sure you always plan to get there early, get wherever you're going, airport, convention, etc. Plan a little bit of extra time so that if things do go wrong, you've got a bit more leeway. And the attitude is one thing I've really learned, especially with traveling, is that things go wrong. For example, if you miss a connecting flight in New York, when you're flying down to Baltimore, that was fun. But the essential point is you get so stressed, but the stress isn't going to help you. So you've got to kind of try and consciously take that, put it on a shelf, and focus on the solution, and then stress later. Because
don't
if
panic.
Don't panic, Mr. Mannering, or Hitchhiker's Guide. Don't panic. Many examples. Yeah, but then, assuming you've now got where you're going, all the things that have gone wrong, you've managed to sort. Get settled when you arrive. It's always worth it if you can. Just get to your hotel or wherever you're staying, dump your stuff, claim your bed, make your nest, so you can go out. When you leave the hotel, you're nice and free, and when you're done with the evening, you can come back and just crash without having to worry about plans for tomorrow morning, because you've already looked into them, that sort of thing. And it's a good time to get a proper meal, because eating at a con is manic.
Yes.
So the last chance to sit down.
Same with the vendors. You don't get to eat very much.
Yes, and a lot of this advice, it's a good point, is relevant not just to not just to general con attending. It's also more important if you're a vendor, or if you've got accessibility issues, things like that. So yeah, kind of pay attention. But yeah, one of the best things to do on the night before a con is the pre-con meet. There's usually one. Find it on social media, either general con groups, general brony groups, the convention site itself. Just ask someone. Someone will know. But yeah, it's good opportunity to kind of start the hype, to show off your swag and all your badges and and your plushies. I have many examples of things lying around. And yeah, you bring them to cons. Bring them to the pre-con meet. It really gets it started off on a really nice foot. And if you didn't come with anyone, friendship is magic. You'll see people in brony t-shirts. Go and talk to them.
Oh, just a thought, actually. With the pre-con meets, especially Griffish Isles I've had so far, you do sometimes get a chance to meet the guests of honor at the pre-con meets, and that can be nicer. That can be sometimes nicer than having to queue up in the con itself. Well, of course, they're contracted to very limited interaction with the fans until the actual day, but you can still have a drink with them and just chat and chill, and they are always awesome. Was the Stephen Magnet voice actor was with us last time. He was great in the pub.
Oh, yeah.
He was fantastic.
Fun. But yeah, by the way, the just while I think about it, the questions section is open at the moment. It's going to be open throughout the whole thing. So if you want to post anything in there, feel free. If you don't get a question answered or you have a burning question afterwards, message me. I'm in the mod list, I think. I'm happy to answer. But yeah, you can always go up and talk to people. If you're decent about it, don't be creepy, and don't be sort of far too shy. But if you see someone and you're by yourself, it's worth doing it. You see if you can tag along. But yeah, most important, do's and don'ts. These are sort of the key points of things to do and not do to make your convention good. And if there's one thing to take away from this con, it is 621 from this panel, because every single day of the convention, this is not just over the weekend. You need 6 hours of sleep. You need 6 hours of sleep every day, 2 meals, and those 2 will allow you to kind of have the energy, not get grumpy, not have a crash, and please have a shower. You don't want to be the person no one can sit next to, especially if
you're cosplaying. Yeah, if you're cosplaying, especially because it's all heavy and warm. We don't want to hang around with you if you're still smelling with sweat because you haven't had a shower.
No one will take pictures with you. But yeah, you've got you need to plan your day as well. So try and get to the con about half an hour early, unless you're really, really keen and want to be first in the queue, because half an hour is usually not early enough to be first in the queue. But you also need to plan in breaks, time for lunch and dinner at the very least, because it's best to actually plan that. But also little 5-minute breaks just to give yourself energy back, to rehydrate, to sort out your bag. When you get into the convention, get the book, get your pen, and circle the things you want to see. If there's anything that you look at and go, that's not that interesting, cross it out as well, because it helps you to sort of narrow down your plan for the day.
And set alarms on your phones.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, that's what I think I might have to add. Yeah, Sky, can you write that down for me so I remember to add it? Yes. This is the thing; it's always a learning experience. Every time you pick up things that you haven't thought of before. But yeah, you also want to make sure you leave time to wander around the vendor hall and just wander around the con, because there's always fun stuff going on. But yeah, before you
talk to people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Ideally the night before, if you've unpacked everything, you also want to pack yourself a bag. If you've just got a little Tesco bag, that's fine, but something like a shoulder bag with ponies on it is more fun. Make sure you've got a water bottle is the most important thing, because getting dehydrated is hell. It will ruin your con. But also we found things like battery packs are really useful. I have one here with Tempest. Yeah. Because then you can keep things charged, and you can also use them to power like an electric fan. So if you get really hot, that's one thing. I do get really hot. I found bringing an electric fan is such a good thing.
Those cons heat up like crazy. They really do. You think they won't, but after 2 hours being in there.
Someone needs to put aircon in GalaCon. Doesn't mean I'm not going. But yeah, you've also got you want things in your bag, like I use like an art folder. For yes.
I highly approve.
Yes, it's got my reference sheet in there by some artist. I don't know who did that one. Yeah. But
I wonder who.
I wonder. But yes, you've got to have that and a poster tube, because they're really useful to when you buy art. So you keep it protected.
Yeah, keep it flat. Don't fold them up and don't crease them. Some vendors will supply you with plastic bags, or if they've got tubes or elastic bands on them, but not all of them do. So make sure you come prepared if you want artwork.
Deodorant is also useful. Even if it means that even if you forgot that shower, It doesn't make up for it, but it helps. Things like that. What else? Battery pack, art folder. Oh, and bring all your swag with you. Show off all the different cons you've been to, and dog tags and plushies, and because everyone loves to see that, and it's part of the convention fun to just sort of compare stuff. Making yourself comfortable is important. If you've got the right, if you've packed properly, you've got the right clothes and shoes, you should be all right. But if your chair's uncomfortable, if you're getting too hot or cold, sort it out sooner rather than later. Even if it feels like you're interrupting, just do it, because you'll thank yourself. And treat everybody with respect, because that is an important thing. That's the best way to make everybody have a good time. Just think about whether you would want to be treated that way, essentially, and treat yourself with respect. Because otherwise people get grouchy. Consent is key. You've got to ask, don't assume. If you're assuming people are okay with you doing a thing, they might not be. You don't know them. We have a lot of diverse people in this fandom as well, so be respectful of people's identities, conditions, and what have you, because we're all just here to have fun. I think some of the words might be cut off on the don'ts side, but most of the don'ts are things that if you're doing the do's, you're probably avoiding the don'ts. But yeah, treating people with respect kind of flows into don't behave inappropriately. Don't be creepy. Don't fawn over guests and vendors. Treat them as people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not safe for work stuff, keep that to people are into it. If you wear that Hegao face t-shirt, if the con staff don't kick you out, I will. Because just no. Oh yes, there we go. If you assume, it makes an ass out of you and me. It is true. It is true.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, don't behave inappropriately. Don't overdo it. If you've got the breaks, you should be all right with this. But don't try and plan to do literally everything, because you'll feel disappointed for starters, because a lot of the time you can't, especially with bigger cons. But yeah, if you do overdo it, it kind of leads to a bit of a mental and physical burnout, and that's not fun. Don't overburden yourself. Plan when you're planning what you're bringing in your bag. Make sure you'll be able to carry it all day, plus the merch you're going to buy. And if not, then there's often bag storage at cons. So look into that, because if you buy so much stuff, you can often stick it in there.
Especially if you get lots of plushies, they are hard to carry when you've got a whole massive armload of them.
Yeah.
So careful with those.
The next one is don't overspend.
Yes,
if you figure this one out, tell me how. But try and stick to a budget. At least give yourself a budget so that when you go over it, you know how much you've gone over it. It's a case of it's advice.
Willpower, absolute willpower.
Yes, but one thing I do find on this, especially if you go abroad, is to make sure you take some money out of your wallet, put it aside in the hotel, literally physically. I usually go with about $30, pounds, euros, just to keep yourself an emergency fund and to spend on getting yourself back when you're traveling. So if you're going through airports and things, you've actually got some cash to pay for food. Or if you overspend at the con, it's emergency funds until you can get back to the cash point. And don't overload on sugar, Sky.
No, you will crash. It's called Wild Bills.
Wild Bills. Oh, you brought the mug out. Yes. BronyCon had Wild Bill soda, which is it's a sort of homemade not cider. It's a homemade soda, isn't it? And I'm usually trying to help James out. And like I say, friendship is magic. It's good having someone there to kind of try and remind you of this stuff, because you might forget part of it. But I'm there trying to tell him, don't get yourself a sugar crash. Don't drink too many sugary drinks. I completely forgot that just because it's homemade didn't mean it had, didn't mean it doesn't have so much sugar.
Oh no!
Oh, that was fun. Yeah. So that. Oh yeah, and don't forget to look after yourself. Again, it's kind of repeating the do's, but it's easy to forget. It's easy to forget it. Oh, and the sugar thing. Yes, I just saw one of my notes. Energy drinks and snacks don't count as meals. That when we're talking 621, that's two actual foods. So yeah, it's far too easy just to go, oh, I need a bit of a boost. Give me the sugar.
Yeah, sitting down with a sandwich.
A proper piece of food
burger
will last you so much longer.
I'm so guilty of snacking through the day because I just get anything sugary. Because it's hard work being a vendor, but we'll go on to that in a minute.
Yes, I was going to say it's oh yeah, this is about. I need to thank Ashy for giving me these notes actually, because I'm not much of a cosplayer, but I would love to be, but I can never get organised. But yeah, there's advice for cosplayers. Yeah, bring an essentials kit. Your cosplay is likely to get damaged, from heat or transport, if not from bumping into things. So glue, needle and thread, safety pins are good.
Oh, safety pins are a lifesaver for cosplayers. If you haven't got any on you, ask a cosplayer and they might have some spares. So yeah, safety pins are a big one.
Energy drinks and snacks, yes. But yeah, I've got Discord over that side, hence looking that way. And my notes up here, so you can tell what I'm looking at.
Yeah, don't worry, I'm looking at the questions. I thought we were going to save those till last, though. Are we?
Yeah, that's fine. I just keeping an eye. So if anybody wants to chime in with anything, but yeah, so it's also, if you've got a fursuit, apparently brush, cleaning spray, and possibly a change of Under Armour.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Again, it's the whole heat issue. Again, you are going to stink after being in a fursuit for a day or even an hour, actually, at a con.
Deodorant.
I have a fursuit that I don't use anymore, so I've been there before with the wrong Under Armour. So got thermals and not the cool downs. So that's another one to keep an eye on.
Yep. All right. Next point. What do I have? Logistics. Plan your cosplay around the weather, around the temperature. If it's winter, skimpy stuff's not going to be good. If it's summer, all the layers are not going to be good. If you have a cosplay you want to do that, goes against those, fine. But bring a jacket if it's skimpy, or plan to take it off if it's bulky. I think the friendship is magic point here. Which applies also to vendors, I believe. But bring a handler or a buddy if you can. Someone to watch out for vendor tables, for pillars, for small children you might run over. And
also to keep an eye on you in case you're flagging, or as long as you've got someone, or you can find someone. If you're overheating or in trouble, they can help you. So just gesture them or yell through the fursuit, especially. Somebody will always be around to help you if you ask.
And similarly, I think on that is to hand you like snacks and drinks.
Yep.
Which is, again, vendors need that as well.
Sorry, I just thought of one for the cosplay and the fursuits. Camel packs for dehydration.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, for if you're attending the con and just have a big backpack, camel packs. I've just thought of that, sorry.
Yeah, that's true, actually. I've never managed to get a decent one of those. Also, though, I have, I tend to go with water bottles that have ponies on them. So, yeah.
So, yeah, for cosplayers, camel packs are definitely worth looking into.
Yes. And it's also quite a good combination. If you've got your bag with stuff you're carrying and you like to use a rucksack, then, like you say, just put the camel pack in there.
Yeah.
What else was it? Handlers and buddies. Handing you food and stuff. And they can keep an eye out for people who want photos with you as well, which is good.
Yes. They always flag you down.
And knowing your limit is kind of part, in with logistics. Like with the logistics, you've also got whether you've got bulky wings and accessories. So if you know the con's going to be small, or if you talk to the convention staff and ask them how big the vendor hall area is, then plan it around that. See if you can cut the size down. If you can't, then plan to be away from the small areas. But you also need to know your limit. Give your cosplay a test run, and know how long you expect to be able to wear it. Because if you're wearing it all day and can't go back to a hotel, you probably want to plan in a sort of cut down version. You want to make sure you've got a t-shirt under it or with you, that sort of thing. It's important. And know your limit, keep hydrating, keep yourself fed. All this 621 and self-care stuff is all the more important if you're in a bulky hot cosplay that's causing you trouble. But on the flip side, if you're an attendee at the con and you're sort of how to behave around cosplayers, again, asking for permission, not forgiveness. Don't assume that you can just run up and take a picture with them. Cat is doing zoomies. Sorry, distracted. But yeah, you get people in these hot cosplays. They might want to take time out. If they tell you, "Sorry, I can't take a photo now," respect that. It's not personal, unless you haven't showered. In which case, it might just be because you smell and get some deodorant. But yeah, be polite. And make sure you tag people, because if you get a photo with someone in cosplay, they want to see it. You know, because they've gone to all this work. They want to see their good work. And yeah, if you're complimenting them, don't just say, "Whoa, you look hot." Go compliment them on the skill of the cosplay, on, you know, "Oh, I like your interpretation," things like that. And if you haven't got anything nice to say, shut up. Frankly, because yeah,
you don't want to ruin the person's experience at their first con, for example.
Yeah, exactly. I think even constructive criticism can be tricky with that, because you can think you're going, "Oh, that's nice, but you know, people, you know, if people have gone to the effort, a lot of the time they're going to be a bit, you know, self-conscious, so they might take it harder than you intended." But if you get in a photo with them, hug with care. Don't break their cosplay. Ask before you touch them. And if you ask them to do a pose or something, respect that they might not be able to, because the cosplay or or the person underneath it might not be able to get in that position without breaking. Yeah, and then personal space, physically, like when you are hugging them and so on, be careful. But also around cosplayers, when they've got bulky wings and things, if they ask you to move out of the way, or you see them coming at you, they might not be able to see that you need to get out of the way. So try and move out. Yeah, try and move out of the way. You are more maneuverable than they are.
Yeah, don't push past them because you might break their suits.
Yeah. But also personal space in terms of socially, do follow their pages, tag their photos, post things saying "I really love it," but don't fawn over them, and don't assume you can become instant best friends. If you're forthright and friendly about it and not creepy, they might be interested, but also respect that they might not, because some people like to have small friend groups, and just because you've seen them at a con doesn't sort of give you the right to be their best friend.
Bexy's just brought up a really important point. With cosplayers and fursuiters, and possibly guests as well, do not take weird, creepy pictures of them eating when they're taking breaks. That's just weird and very creepy. And if you tag them later, it's like, why on earth did you take that photo? I wasn't performing for you, so... Yeah, don't be creepy about it when you're taking photos. Okay, if they're in the background of a shot when they're taking a break, that's fine. But don't deliberately take a photo of them like, "Oh, they're out of suit, get them." Just don't do that. We don't like that.
And it's that, it's that sort of thing. Respecting people is the most important.
Yeah.
Yeah, friendship is magic. What did I put on that point? I think that's just generally like especially with the handlers. And, and you can make friends with cosplayers. Probably the most likely way to do it is to ask for advice on how they did something. Because, cosplayers often are more interested in talking to people on their cosplay pages about cosplay. Yeah.
Yeah.
What have we got next? This is Stormy's bit.
My department. Okay, so we've been through a couple of things that are very similar already. So with cosplayers, for example, you could put them up with the vendors at the same kind of way, how to behave around them. So I'm just going to go very briefly through a few tips I wanted to point out for people who are new to vending or thinking of getting a table at any con. And especially if you're in the chat right now and this is your first convention, for example, the online convention. Food and drink, we've already touched on. Really important that you at least definitely have a decent sized breakfast, especially if you're on your own, because you don't often get the chance to dart away from your table to go get a full meal at like McDonald's down the road, for example. If you've got a helper, brilliant, they can go do that for you. But make sure you bring snacks. And normally conventions will have an on-site cafe for you to go get a quick meal at, or a snack, or vending machines are also very important if you've got one on site. And keep hydrated. UK PonyCon's fantastic for looking after their vendors by offering water bottles or refills if you got one of the water bottles as a vendor pack or something. But they were very good at making sure, coming around asking each vendor, have you got water? Have you got water? Are you all right? They're very good at that at UK PonyCon, and I appreciate that highly. But yeah, if you've got a helper, you can just send them out to bring outside food in. If they've got a vendor badge, the security will normally let you in for outside food, especially for lunch times. But make sure you definitely have a breakfast in the hotel, or you stop by a coffee house on the way to the con. Just eat something, because you will not believe how draining it is being sat at a vendor table, just being social, working on commissions if you sat there working on commissions, and just mentally trying to think out changes and stuff like that. It can be very, very draining. So just look after yourself, as Umbra's already said. Just keep an eye on yourself. Don't overdo it. And the helper I've already mentioned, absolutely godsend when you need it. I've done a lot of cons on my own, and it has been quite hard. And I've had to recruit a couple of my friends who are just attendees, just to like, go get me a drink, go get me a coffee, go get me a snack.
Chocolate bar, yeah.
Yeah, chocolate bar. Because it's one of those
Bristol,
things.
wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It's one of those things where, especially on your own, as soon as you get a quiet moment in the vendor hall, and you start packing up for a quick break, there's always a flood of people, or somebody comes straight to your table, and you're like, damn, I shouldn't really go. But yeah, but if you have to take a break, I would advise doing it. Just say to the people that are just coming over, you need a couple of minutes just to chill, just to take a break, go to the loo, maybe get changed if you're getting really, really warm. You just go back to the hotel and get a quick change, just stuff like that. You're allowed a break, you're entitled a break, and don't feel pressured by all the customers coming over because you are flagging really, really bad. Especially if you've got anxiety and you need to take a break, do it. Just ask the vendor next to you, can they look after your stall? Just keep an eye out on people. Just close up for a few minutes, go have your break. It's a godsend when you can do that.
I think breaks are important for everything as well, because it's very easy to sort of to think you just got to keep going. But it's also useful to have your friends point out to you if they think you need a break.
Absolutely. If you look
because they can
like
sometimes
me
see it
right
better
now,
than you can.
If you look just like me, my face is bright red. I've been talking all morning. My throat is starting to get really dry. I think it's going to be time for a bit of a break after this panel for me, just like in a real con. So next, I'm just going to briefly touch on money. Cash is very, very good if you've got very small little things like small badges and stickers, because it's more likely somebody will have a bit of spare change on them that they want to buy small little trinkets from you. Don't charge too high on badges and stickers unless they're really high quality. You get more people interested in your stock if you do it that way. Plus, kids are more likely to want to spend their pocket money on very small, cheap items. And it's always
pocket change. Yeah, pocket change is. I'm so susceptible to that.
I'm always heartbroken when I see a very small child at a con and their parent comes along and they go, oh, I love this, and then the parent's always like, is that in your pocket money budget? And it's like, you can't afford that as a waste of money. I'm like, it's 50p, you monster. Just let the child have a small pocket money thing. So yeah, I like small things like that. And then if you've got much more expensive items, especially if it's like 50 quid onwards, I would say would be the cutoff mark. Card and PayPal, putting a little sign on your stall or telling people that you're accepting those payments, more people are possibly going to go, all right, then I've got it on card. I've run out of cash, but I'm going to use my card.
And that also works. That also works as an attendee, because if the vendor hasn't put on PayPal, a lot of them will have it. Yes. So if you suggest it to them, I've had that before at Hearthwarming. I think was the first time I tried that. If you've got the app, put the app on your phone, ask them for the address, put it in, and you can show them, there we go. There's my screen. I've just paid you.
Absolutely. That only
wait,
works.
No, sorry. Stick to a budget. This is why I can't.
This is the little evil vendor tips I'm doing here. That only works if the venue's got a decent Wi-Fi and internet signal. otherwise, I advise that all attendees look up and see, oh, does this venue have a Wi-Fi hotspot? If it's terrible connection and we know in advance, please make sure you bring cash, like enough for, say, a plushie, for example, because the vendors won't be able to help you with card payments and PayPal payments if we can't connect to the internet. It just won't happen. So yeah, so please do your research on the venue before you go to the vendor hall. That's a big one. Spatial awareness and blocking. We've been over that with the cosplayers and general behavior around cons. The main thing with the vendor tables is I've had personal experience with this on mine every single year, and I'm not blaming you guys, but I do pick up on it a lot, is people just standing in front of vendor stalls. If it's like a big group and they're just listening to the conversation the vendors are having with their friends or the clients they're talking to right there, just don't block the way completely. Make sure there's at least a gap. You can continue talking to the vendor, but as long as people can still get to the table and look at the merchandise, especially with small children at these cons, because they will just, they'll stand, I've seen this, they'll stand there, look at the massive crowd around a stall and decide, I'll come back later, and they don't always come back later, or they miss out on something. So just be completely aware if you're blocking all the visual space of the vendor's table. It's yeah, especially if it's a really popular vendor that has a really big following, please don't crowd them completely. You want to make sure, the vendors will want to make sure that everybody who wants to see them has had chance to see them and their merchandise. So don't crowd, and don't, this is going to go on, this is part of the behavior and attitude, I'm going to say, don't spend the entire time talking to one vendor. As much as I love my friends, there are times where it's like, you guys, can you please just move on? You are blocking my table. But I'm always far too polite to say, I'm so sorry about that if that sounds really snarky at all. But it's a case of
tell us to shove off if you need to.
I know some of my friends don't realize they're doing it, but it's normally when I've got someone coming down the line of vendors and they're coming towards me and you guys haven't moved away yet. So I will in future make sure to ask you guys, can you just scooch over a little bit? So yeah, that's the spatial awareness. Ask before touching merchandise. This is another huge one. I hope I'm not running over too much in time here, but but yeah, when I get a lot of people, when I get a lot of people come right by and look at my marker pen pieces, for example, because I lay them out on the table, they are free to like pick up and have a look at, but I would rather people asked first, because I've seen a lot of kids especially that will just kind of go, colorful ponies, pick up, look, and then just put it back in like the wrong place or something. I just want people to be aware that it's better for us if you ask us to view the merchandise closer.
It's also a good point, especially with viruses these days.
Yeah.
But also it'll be different between an artist's stall like yours and someone selling like big buckets of ponies.
Yes.
So that's why I kind of went for ask before touching, whereas yours is more don't touch.
The main tip I can say with that one for the vendors is make sure you put everything in plastic packaging. That way it can stay safe, especially if you've got sketches or marker pen or paintings. I know it's harder to do with the canvases, but with canvases, you have the luxury of keeping them high up on the display if you can, away from small hands that can reach across your desk. As long as you keep it safe, it's fine. But for attendees, please ask beforehand. Same goes for photos. Photos and videos is a big one, because a lot of us don't like our artwork being like copied or taken photos of without our permission. So if you've got a camera, vloggers don't mind so much. If we're in the background, it doesn't mind so much because you're walking through the vendor hall or just talking to your friends in the vendor hall. But if you're deliberately trying to get recordings of the vendor hall, please ask the vendors if it's all right if they're on camera, or if their merchandise can just be like looked at with a camera. Not all vendors will say yes, so please double check that one.
All right, we're on 15 minutes.
Yep, I got it. I won't go into behavior and attitude because obviously Umbra's gone through that already. My big keyword for the entire con and for vendors and attendees in the vendor hall: patience. Just some people can be harder to talk to and deal with than others. And all I say with the vendors, if you're uncomfortable talking to the person, just hang in there until the sale is made, or if the person decides to move on and just gives up on harassing you. I've had a few people who've tried to haggle my artwork down from like 20 quid already, and I'm just there like, not happening. I am not a general merchant. You're gonna have to talk to the collectors who are open to haggling, not me. So just stand your ground if anybody's gonna go for you, and just hang in there and just have a lot of patience. So that's all I've got to say on the vendor hall. You can ask me for, or any of the other vendors, for any hints and tips. I'd be happy to give you those. So yeah.
All right. Yeah, thank you. I'm going to hand over to Sky now for the, hold on, where are we going? Yeah, there we go. For the accessibility section. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, real important about this is patience. If you're with somebody or you're helping people, please be patient with them.
And with yourself, you know, if you've got...
Yourself, yes, because it's hard to basically... to
deal, yeah. Yes. Well, like you say, hard to deal with if you've got...
Yes.
Essentially, this is if you've got mental health or physical health difficulties, it can be difficult.
It can, yes. And plus, many anxiety disorders or other bits can be shown like this.
And conventions are a good way to trigger those anxieties.
Yes, and if you see someone struggling, ask is it all right, and you can help them, they might help. Yes.
But you also, you've got not everyone's going to be understanding. So.
No.
Just don't rush yourself.
No.
At all. Rushing is bad.
Take breaks and relax in between the day. Try it.
Yeah, that's all right. I mean, this is essentially the point. This is the sort of stage you can get to at a con because you are flustered. Yeah. So yeah, yeah, and it's, you know, some of the stuff that we were saying before about 621 and that sort of thing. I think I actually got that one from Sky in the first instance. It's extra important if you do have conditions, because if you take care of yourself outside the con, it makes it easier in the con.
It does. It's that. It's really important. It's just make sure you're eating and drinking, and take time for it. That's one.
But also, you've got support that is available at cons. You've got your badge somewhere.
Oh yes, I have my. You got these days. You could have the sunflower thing here. What's it? What you call that? Lanyard. What is it? It's for hidden disabilities. So anyone wearing this has a disability. So it's saying I have a disability and be wary.
And then the other badge?
Oh yes, the one I've had in the past is is it the Fast Pass one? It was the PonyCon one they had.
Yeah, the sort of accessibility badge that allows you.
Yes, with a carer or someone to help you go through.
So it gives you time to go into panels a little bit earlier to get seated. It essentially takes a lot of stress off. So talk to the con staff, because there may be that sort of thing available. Yeah,
this thing saved me from a certain con.
You mean LineCon 2019?
Yeah.
No, the staff are always there to help, so make sure you can find a staff member.
They'll always be happy to help you. Yes, they'll always be there to help you when you need it.
Yep. Well, one thing I always find, I don't have the anxiety side of things, but medication is always important to make sure you take it and plan it around it being extra stressful if you have kind of vary it.
And and let your friends or who's with you let you know of medication you use.
Yeah.
One of the tips I do is I have it on these keyring things, so you can always have it to hand.
That's a good idea.
Nice.
So my kit, and let them know what does, and let them know of
what to do in emergencies, for example.
Yes.
Or even color code it.
But make sure you've told them, because if there's something you need someone to do in an emergency, you've got to make sure they know and they've agreed to it.
Yep.
But we're a friendly bunch. Usually, you'll
And also, let them know if you need to go outside to have the air or have half an hour in the hotel room. Let them know, and that's the best thing you can do.
And as someone who's with someone who needs those breaks, not only is it good to be encouraging about that, but also to say, look to keep an eye out, because often like with the sugar crashes, if you see someone sort of flagging, and it's just like, dude, go outside, take a break, you'll be so much better off for it.
That will try and track down the medic as well, because there is always a medic on site. If you think it's getting really bad, but you're not sure if you can move them or not.
Yeah.
So definitely try and get the staff on that.
But the breaks is also I think breaks is one of the most important things if you've got conditions that make it more difficult, and don't be afraid to just leave in the middle of a panel, because
that's fine.
Yeah.
If anybody does flash you a dirty look, you just say, sorry, it's accessibility issue, or just I need to I'm getting anxiety or whatever, and people will understand.
No, for panelists, that's another one. Just let the crowd do what they want, as long as they're not loudly talking in your panel and upstaging you, you're fine. But if for example, if somebody has to leave for an emergency, just let them go. Don't question them, just let them go.
I think that's most of those ones.
That's all of it now. Yes, I'll pass back to you.
Yeah, nice. Thank you very much. So and then we've got friendship is magic.
Friendship is magic.
Friendship is magic. Essentially, if you go with friends and be a good friend to people with conditions, it just makes everything so much nicer. And one of the things, if people are taking 5-minute breaks to kind of deal with their anxiety, they can go and get some snacks and drinks and things, which can actually be quite helpful. And as somebody helping out someone with issues, if the accessibility passes allow you to allow a helper or two, it was 2 at BronyCon, LineCon, but essentially it means that yes, you're there to support them, but you also do potentially benefit from it. So it's not just an extra thing to do. They set it up quite nicely. But anyway, right.
Yes.
We'll try. Oh, crikey! I'll try and do this one quickly, because we see and then do a couple of questions. Yes. End of the con. Swag count. You got to do a swag count. Dump everything on your bed. Take a picture. Put it on social media. Show off, and you'll also be able to look back at it when you're sort of later on the financial fallout point, when you're wondering where your money is. There.
Plus, our spenders like to see who's bought our stuff as well, so that's always nice to see somebody with the swag post, and you're like, "Oh, that's one of my prints." Good. It's always a great feeling.
Try to tag who you bought from as well.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah.
Yes.
Also, take business cards. Sorry.
Take business. Yes.
Cards.
A lot of the time they have nice artwork on as well, so you can make a nice collage.
Just collect them.
You've also got post-convention events. In the same way you had the pre-con event, keep an eye on social media. There's usually an event after the con to kind of drag out the hype a little bit longer, but go to bed soon enough to get up for your travel the next morning. But also can be events throughout the con, so just keep an eye, because usually at UK PonyCon we've got something every night where we play Cards Against Humanity and things like that. When you're traveling home, like I say, I'm rushing this. When you're traveling home, remember you're going to be much more tired. It's all the same tips and tricks as when you're traveling there, but you're going to be more tired. So keep in your mind that cup of tea, that nice warm bed that you're going to crash in, just to try and get you through the difficult bits. Once you are home, beware of concrud. You're in a place with people from all over the country, all over the world. They have germs you didn't have until today. You do have them now, so plan for it. It's unfortunate, but it happens. Post-con blues as well is a case of normal life is very sucky compared to conventions, because conventions are awesome. Just try and focus on the positives, and focus on the friendship as well, because the friendship, you think about the friends you've made, but, it's a case of get in contact with your new friends, and check your friends you traveled with have got home okay, but maybe give them a day or two to forgive you for snoring too loudly. I think I snore. But it can be nice to have just a little bit of space after the con, as long as you make sure everyone's okay.
Yeah, just a cool down phase after all that absolute hype and energy.
But the
just nice to chill.
Yeah, and then you've got, yes, unless you're really, really good at budgeting, you're probably going to be feeling a bit poor after the convention. If you wonder where your money's gone, have a look at the picture you took. But yeah, just be prepared for it. It happens. So yeah, and friendship is magic. Just focus on the fact that you've had such a good time, that you've made so many friends. It's all good.
Yeah.
And yeah, get planning the next convention. That's the next stage. Start again from point A.
It's like the worst thing you can say to a vendor right after a con. It's like, no.
Okay, don't mention that to vendors then. But yeah,
we need some cool down time.
All right, so we got, I think, well, not too long for questions. So if anybody wants to ask questions, put it
We've got one
questions thread.
Yeah.
What was our favorite convention experience?
Yes.
Also, before we get to that, feel free to DM me if you've got anything. I'm in the mod chat that you want to ask afterwards. Anyway, favorite con
experience.
Oh,
I'm going to limit that to PonyCons, I think.
Pincher Parcel's good. I love the Pincher Parcel. It's just such a mad game at UK PonyCon. Also, in terms of these things, I've got anecdotes on the side, so I'm gonna say
my best experience for a pony themed convention was Buck 2014. Nothing has beaten that, in my opinion. The Summer Sun celebration and the 2 stages they had on, phenomenal. The 16 just did not touch it in terms of epic.
Don't say that. I didn't go to the Summer Sun in 14 because that was my first
14
PonyCon.
Had the best venue in my opinion as well. I absolutely loved being in that old railway station. It was so good.
That's true. It was fun.
So shout out to those who went to 14.
Yeah, I think, and BronyCon 17 was so much better than 19. It may have been the last one, 19, so there was a lot of kind of stuff in there, but 17 was way better organized.
Well, that's a good question.
So what's that?
Oh, if James want to say which one.
My favourite is a gala con Irish bar after event.
Oh,
lucky
Towers.
That's
Towers, yes.
Nice chair, nice people.
Sitting out there in the nice summer German weather.
Surrounded by plushies
so
everywhere.
Jealous.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to get to Gala Con.
And Ellie Ray. And Ellie Ray just wanders in and she's so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
She is the best convention guest because she's just so full of life.
Right, I've got a really good question that's come up. Who here has been to the most conventions?
I got to about 30 in my count.
I reckon I got to about 30 as well.
Yeah,
but mine are mixed. It's not just pony ones. It was furry and general stuff.
I haven't got any furry ones, but I've got general like MCM and like a convention down the road from here.
About 24 for me. Not too bad.
Yeah, so
that's
average about 25 for us, but I think.
Essentially, I think mostly Sky, you and I have all been to the same ones, except for a few MCMs before I ever knew you.
And locals.
Yeah, because we're right near each other.
Yeah.
We all live fairly close. But I met Sky actually in Manchester at a con. Oh, you live down that way, do you?
GBC, whatever, yeah. GB.
Oh, it's Moose Events Game and Comic Con. I can't remember what the full name is, but it's local to us. It's very local. It's literally down the road from me when it happens here. Yeah. So that's one we've started attending quite a lot. Right. Any other questions we got here? Let's see.
The PowerPoint convention guide. I am actually thinking of converting this to a more comprehensive thing that has more hints and tips. Because, like I say, I could do several panels on this because, like, the travel advice by itself would be a whole hour at least. But yeah, I'm gonna try and make something out of this. DM me and I'll try and remember.
Right, whilst we've got a few minutes, apart from Click being silly, what was the worst con we've been to?
Oh,
I'm going to say DevCon in Plymouth. It's not been good. It started off strong and then just